is what we've got for today. So I am going to be discussing the updates to sorry, this is about to be a hard pivot. I'm going to discuss the updates in the David case. He has officially been charged. Sorry, it was a little confusing. I realized the last time I covered this when he was arrested. He was arrested in connection, but he was officially charged today. And the charges are very serious. It's not just first-degree murder, which already is a serious charge, but he has been additionally charged with special circumstances. And there's a few of those. And so that means that because of these special circumstances, the charge carries a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. And the Los Angeles County DA has said that the office has not decided on whether or not they're pursuing the death penalty, because remember, California still has the death penalty for certain it's let me get this exact, because I know they had put a moratorium. Okay, yes, the moratorium was imposed by Newsom in 2019, but in 2021 the Supreme Court upheld the state's death penalty rules, though as of 2024, executions have yet to resume. So they have not put anyone to death despite the moratorium being lifted. I hope they don't go for the death penalty. I mean, I am against capital punishment. So you're not going to catch me out here rooting for the death penalty because of all of the legal and moral and political issues. However, what is good here is that these are basically the most serious. This is the most serious charge that they can bring against him. And I will tell you, I saw him in court today, not literally, like I wasn't there, but I saw a clip of it and it filled me with rage. So seeing him sitting there, almost acting bored, and the fact that they are requesting a prelim hearing. His team is pushing for one because they're thinking that if there's not enough prosecutorial evidence, that the judge could end up tossing it out. Sorry, this is a dumb question, but how's the death penalty carried out? Is it like a syringe shot or something? It depends. Often it's through injection, but they have various means of carrying it out. So it just depends on the state. I thought they would charge him with something lower to have it stick. I'm surprised. Well, I feel as if, well, I don't want to do guesswork too much, but here's what I posted on Twitter, because this is what's really bothering me. As always, this is not about one individual who committed a heinous acts. This is about people around David, his team, his larger circle, people who knew Celeste. I did not name specific names, obviously, but there's no denying that there are other people who were aware that Celeste, a child, was being abused by this adult man. Okay? And I said, obviously, he's responsible for what he did to Celeste and deserves the consequences for his heinous crimes. But I also keep thinking about all the people who failed to save this child, the ones who knew he was abusing her, yet did nothing about it. And I think people, every time a horrible situation like this happens, they want to view something as just an individual act rather than how it is a measure of societal failings, because this child was failed on every level of society. She was not just failed by individuals. She is a product of a failed society. This was years that she was a victim of in an abusive situation. Years and years. So anyway, we're going to start off with this story. And then I also want to talk about Ben McKenzie's crypto doc. And I would like to get to covering that wild story in Wired about MSG, Madison State Garden. I'm like, why? Madison Square Garden's panopticon surveillance machine. Jim Dolan loves to spy on people. And then let's see what else I have. I think I have one other thing. Okay. Anyway, let us start off with the updates to the David case. Where is my playlist? Yeah, honestly, MSG, mass surveillance garden. Yep, that's what's happening. Did you hear people made threats at the court? What? Okay, well, let's start off with here.
So again, today I am announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David, spelled
Miss Pac-Man, thank you for tier 1. Momo, thank you for the 16 months.
In connection with
Earth
the
Dog, thank you for
brutal
11 months.
and horrific murder of Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. The determination on whether or not the district attorney's office will seek the death penalty will be made at a later time.
I swear to God, these press conferences always have the worst audio. But
Before
at least
I get into the actual
you can hear it.
charges, and there are additional charges against Mr. Burke, including continuous sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old, and mutilating a human remains of a body. Before I get into
so the witness he's referring to is Celeste, because according to prosecutors, David's motivation for murdering Celeste is that she had said she was going to expose him for having abused her, for grooming and raping her. And his debut album, Withered, was set to drop. And so 2 days, this is according to the prosecutors, 2 days before the album dropped is when he murdered her.
the description
So they're saying the motivation was to preserve his career.
of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children, and a parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back. As we will show in a court of law, and what I also want to make...
And the other, okay, so let me just remind y'all that her parents had reported her missing multiple times. I think it was 3 times. And the third time was April of 2024. April of 2024. And her family had several meetings with police. They scoured neighborhood surveillance footage. They begged neighbors and friends. They were trying to get their daughter. And I feel like the police in Lake Elsinore, where she is from, in Riverside County, California, I'm sure they did their classic, oh, she's not in danger. She's a runaway. And because Celeste comes from a socioeconomic background and was a child of color, and all the other all the other reasons that somebody like her is failed by society, I'm sure that they didn't do their diligence on this. I'm sure that they didn't give a shit that this 14-year-old, who, mind you, I believe this first happened when I think the timeline has her at as young as 12, maybe even 11, but 12 when she first met David. And then she was 13 when they started, when her family had reported her missing. And then she was 14 when she was murdered. And her body was found, but it was a while after she had been killed. And then she was 15 at that point. She was 11 when they started talking on Discord. Yes. And I don't know. I don't know the exact specific timeline. A lot of it is people kind of putting things together from pictures and from messages and other stuff online. But she was a child, even when he killed her. She was 14 years old.
Sure about that the understanding of these charges is clear. Is my description of these charges is not evidence that we are going to present in court.
Another brick, thank you.
These charges, in fact, will
Cute
not
sushi thing
be
for 3
evidence in the court. Evidence will be the witness testimony, the documents, and different types of admissible testimony that we will admit into court in the prosecution, and if it leads to the eventual trial of Mr. Burke, to convince a jury of 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt that each and every one of these charges is true, as well as the special allegations and circumstances that have been alleged. Now, back to this being a parent's nightmare. On April 23rd, 2025, as been alleged by the complaint, Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again.
Is he being charged with aggravated essay of a minor? He's been charged with continuous sexual abuse. Yes. Continuous sexual abuse of a child.
September 8th, 2025, as alleged in the complaint, Miss Celeste's remains, her dismembered and decomposed remains, were found in 2 bags.
No, he's been charged with murder as well.
Trunk of a car registered to Mr. Burke. Thereafter began an investigation. The investigation was to determine who killed, who murdered Celeste. Months.
And remember, this sick fuck went on tour. Album comes out. He goes on tour and then had to cancel the rest of the tour, but it was underway.
And months before. That investigation was carried out in unison and in partnership between the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division and the District Attorney's Office. At every point in the investigation, through the arrest and the filing of charges, the LAPD and the District Attorney's Office have worked in lockstep. There's been no disagreements amongst these entities in deciding how to proceed with this case.
Kept performing even when her body was found. Yeah.
Today. So what you have as well with these charges is that, again, there are 3 sets of charges that have been brought. The first-degree murder with special circumstances, and again, those special circumstances are lying in wait. That Celeste went to Mr. Burke's home on the night of April 23rd, 2025, as alleged in the complaint, at his invitation, and again, was not heard from again. The second is...
They are also, the DA's office is saying that the abuse began when she had just turned 13. So that is right now their timeline as far as the charge of continuous sexual abuse. But it seems as if it was even prior to that, that at the very least he had started to groom her.
Is a special circumstance being that this murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial
MRD,
gain was
thank
for
you.
Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening.
He was 20
on that particular night.
when it started.
The
Because
third
he's 21 now.
charge, in addition to lying in wait and for financial gain, is murdering a witness to an investigation. In this particular case, as the evidence will come out in court, the witness to the investigation was Celeste. And the investigation was into the lewd and lascivious sexual acts committed by Mr. Burke that is the subject of count 2 of this complaint with Celeste while she was under 14 years old.
Obviously you should not have to hear anything other than the fact that she was 13 when they're saying the sexual abuse started, to go, wow, that's a child. But just to further put that in perspective, she was in middle school. She was in 7th grade, a 7th grader.
The chance to meet with some of the family members of Celeste, and their grief is uncalculable as to what happened to their daughter. What they have demanded, what we have assured them that the district attorney's office working with LAPD would give them, is the proof beyond a reasonable doubt on who killed their daughter, on how their daughter was killed, when their daughter was killed, and bring that killer to justice. That killer that we have now charged is David Anthony Burke.
They said special circumstances and financial gain. What was the financial gain? So they're saying that because the motivation was his album was coming out, she threatened to expose him. He killed her so that it would not affect his career. There being the financial gain, that it was about his career. It was about this album, his upcoming tour, finances. You know what I keep thinking about too, and maybe this is just the darkest, most cynical part of my brain, but if she had come forward, I don't even know if it really would have ruined his career. If he just smeared her, if he had his legal team smear her, you know, do all the things that it's always done, he would still have fans, because that's how it works. It's like, as long as people are supporting you, well, then you got an audience. And let's not pretend that there are not plenty of men out there who have allegations of abuse from underage individuals, from minors, from children, and have not faced the appropriate consequences. So there's a part of me that's like, man, he decided that the only option was to kill this girl that he had been abusing. And the sick reality being, would it have even destroyed his career in the way that he feared? No one from his crew batted an eye, because she was clearly, she was around him. She was with him. She was living with him. And I don't know, you know, what the fallout would have been were she to come public, but she's a 14-year-old girl who has nothing, who had nobody. And I'm sure if he had threatened her, if he had blackmailed, whatever, you know, sought a way to control her from coming forward, like that he would have succeeded in that.
We will have questions after I speak and Chief McDonald speaks. At this point, I invite Chief McDonald to speak.
Thank you very much.
Are they going for life in prison with no parole? Are they going for the death penalty? They have not said. The DA's office said they have not decided.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I want to begin by expressing my deepest
Captain, thank you
condolences
for the
to
prime.
the parents of Celeste Rivas. No parent or any human being should have to endure what you've gone through. Today, alongside DA Hockman and our partners at the LA County District Attorney's Office, and thanks to the tireless and hard work of our investigators at the LAPD, we're announcing the arrest and prosecution.
His Spotify streams have only gone up. And maybe it's like maybe it's a morbid curiosity. Maybe it's people who are like, oh, separate the art from the artist. Sure, he's just been arrested for first-degree murder and the continuous rape of a child and these other special circumstances charges, but still going to listen to his music.
Prosecution of David Burke for the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. Throughout the 7-month investigation, this department has faced criticism for how we handled the case and for our decision not to provide details. I want to be clear about something. My duty is not to fuel speculation, it's to deliver justice, and that requires patience.
Didn't Diddy's streams
and
increase?
on
Many
everybody's
such
part.
examples.
This investigation was driven by a single purpose: to secure justice for Celeste Rivas and for those who loved her. We had to be certain that nothing we did or said would ever jeopardize this case.
You can't separate the art from the artist. In this instance, his art is about her. Yeah.
Ms. Rivas was a reported runaway from Riverside County. During the course of our investigation, detectives learned that she had been involved in a sexual relationship with Mr. Burke when she was a minor and he was an adult.
People need to learn to control their morbid curiosity. I agree. It's like, y'all, can we not exercise any fucking self-control? You have to understand that, sure, you're just one person in the sea of people who are doing the same thing, but all of that is contributing to sending a message. And that message is that it doesn't matter what somebody has done. You're still going to listen to their fucking music. You're still going to support their whatever it is, which puts money in their pocket. There are also people posting about Celeste while using his songs. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, it comes to a point that we need to have some self-control that we are exercising. We need to be responsible.
On April 23rd, 2025, Ms. Rivas arrived at Mr. Burke's home in the Hollywood Hills. That's the last time she was known to be alive. On September 8th, 2025, Ms. Rivas's dismembered and badly decomposed body was discovered in the front trunk.
Also, mind you, it's a lot of people who it's not like they go, ooh, I've never heard his songs. I heard this one is about Celeste. I'm listening to it. It's people who are just listening to his music, who have been listening to his music.
Of Mr. Burke's impounded Tesla. From that moment forward, our investigators faced an extraordinary, difficult, and complex case. The condition of her remains delayed the medical examiner's ability to be able to determine cause of death. The substantial amount of time that passed between her death and the discovery meant that crucial evidence had degraded or disappeared. And as detectives worked to uncover the truth, they also had to sift through and debunk a great deal of false information circulating publicly. These challenges were real, and they required patience, precision, and an unwavering commitment to the facts. Despite these obstacles, and despite intense public pressure, our Robbery Homicide Division detectives remained steadfast in their duties.
I just have to say, too, I saw a clip of XQC in this group of streamers, and he was trading jabs with Senna and Jason the Ween. And then one of the retorts that he had was to be like, oh, isn't your buddy David? And it was obviously not done with any care towards the fact that a child who was sexually abused in her young life was murdered. Yeah, your man's. That it's now being used as a gotcha. That is fucking sickening to me. That is sickening to me. I swear, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind. Wasn't he defending him recently? He defended him when this first started to come out and said that he was being framed or whatnot, and then he changed his tune on that. But this was, I want to say, a week ago that XQC said had this jab, threw that barb in his direction, which is obviously not at the expense of Jason the Ween. It's at the expense of Celeste, who is dead, who was murdered because she was a victim of sexual abuse. A child whose body was left to rot in a Tesla. I know I don't expect anything from a lot of streamers that I share space with here, but my God, I beg for just one moment of introspection. Just having any sense of grace, some modicum of decency, XQC has zero empathy and lacks seeing people's humanity. Seems like everything I hear about him is that he just cares about clout and money and what he can gain from others. He's a piece of shit. That's what he did. That's what he is. He's a piece of shit. And everything is drama to him. His brain is so fucking fried. And he just sees everything. These are full-ass adults, by the way. I know they love to pretend that they're all 12 years old still. They are adults. Adults. What is he, 30 at this point? As a 30-year-old man, something like that? "30 years old. It's ridiculous. I wish these people felt any shame because, man, would they be filled with it in treating a situation like this as a way to, I don't know, get a clip, get one over. But like the guy that he was streaming with to promote his campaign for presidency, Donald Trump, they're incapable of shame, but it doesn't mean that I'm still not going to call him out. It is just so, it's unbelievable to me still. Every time I think I'm used to this, I'm not. Shane Hawk. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate your generosity. Stove, thank you for the 5 months. We need to bring back throwing tomatoes at people in the public square. There's no other way for these people to feel shame. I just look around and go, until people stop supporting these people, they will never stop. Until the incentive is removed, then they will only keep going. It's that they are still rewarded. It's that they make so much money. I mean, in X's case, it's getting kids hooked on gambling. That's one of the ways that he's made a bunch of money. You know, it is exploiting children. So I guess maybe that's why he has no problem. He has no problem using the death of this child as a gotcha because he himself is out here exploiting. Now, granted, it's through gambling, but exploiting children nonetheless, using his influence, influencing kids to be terrible. All right, enough with the XQC hate. Get back on topic, Lil Bro. Here's the thing. Yeah, you can talk like that in a phase stream. You cannot talk like that in my stream. Lil Bro? Am I Lil Bro? I'm a 33-year-old woman. I don't think I'm Lil Bro. I don't think I'm a 19-year-old whose idea of content is like, I don't know, calling women whores, but then using them for content. Bro called the streamer Lil Bro. Well, you know, I guess there's always new things that I can be called out here. Lil Bro, me. Yeah, I think I'm the opposite of Lil Bro. I don't think that that's the vibe that we do here. Lil Bro. Appalacheli B. Habron. That is a mouthful. Thank you very much for the 5 gifteds. Appreciate that. Pope of Clowntown. Thank you. Deanie, thank you for the bits. Not even Lil Sis, Lil Bro. Yeah, that's because that is a chatter who lives in a world that is male centered. That it's all Lil Bro. It's all Lil Bro. Not all of us are Lil Bro out there. Not all of us, despite that chatter from a couple days ago, are centering men and are male oriented and are a part of bro culture. Does that mean that guy was like 40? Probably. Yeah, talking like a 12-year-old. Yeah, it could have been a 40-year-old. Caroline Kwan from Lil Bros. Well, that sounds cute when you say it. Oh my God. Look, I have a Lil Bro, okay? I am not Lil Bro. I have a Lil Bro. Oh my gosh. Okay.
They recovered and analyzed a substantial amount of digital and forensic evidence. They stayed focused, disciplined, and committed to uncovering the truth. Their work, in close collaboration with the District Attorney's Office, has brought us to this moment today. I want to thank the District Attorney and his team,
I have to
as
get my
always,
water.
for
I'm
their
sorry. I'll be right
partnership.
back.
This case demanded coordination, persistence, and a shared commitment to justice. Also, thank you to our media partners for showing up today and for sharing this important message with the public. And finally, to Ms. Rivas's family, we cannot undo the pain you are feeling. Our hope is that today brings some measure of accountability and a step in the journey toward healing. Please know that the Los Angeles Police Department remains fully committed to seeking justice on behalf of your daughter. Thank you.
So at this point, we'll take questions.
Anything more you can tell us about the fact that she was a witness in the pending investigation, that she reported the abuse, who was doing that investigation?
The details of the allegations that have made, particularly with that special circumstance, will be produced in court.
Here's the thing, too. As an internet creator with influence, the way that you act sets the tone. So if you are incapable of ever having a serious moment, of ever treating anything with the seriousness that it deserves, then that is the tone that you set for your audience, for the people who are influenced by you and who are following your lead. That's how it goes. They are following your lead. And there are too many streamers, content creators who are incapable of an ounce of maturity, incapable of being serious, like really serious. I don't mean that fake, that faux seriousness where it's still like right behind that there is still the sense of everything's just a fucking joke, lil bro. Always a clip to farm. Mm-hmm.
So with respect to the coroner's report,
How do you cover this topic without falling into the icky, gawky tendencies of true crime podcasts? I do not sensationalize. I try to stay away from dangerous speculation. I am not trying to create fiction here in order to entertain. Treating victims as people, as actual people. So I think when you remove the entertainment, that is how you stay away from the worst aspects of true crime culture. You have to, yes, you always focus on the victim, and you focus on the broader issues as well, in order to highlight the issues here that go beyond even just this instance of a horrific crime. So yeah, stay away from sensationalizing, stay away from leading with a focus on entertainment. Remove that. Always center the victim, and always look at how does this represent the issues in our broader society, because there are more Celestes out there. And that's who I keep thinking of. I keep thinking of Celeste, and I keep thinking of the other Celestes out there.
We'll be seeking quite quickly to provide an order to the court that now allows the coroner to release that report to the public.
Do you believe that he
And I made this point before, but I understand that he has some songs and lyrics that point to this abusive relationship that he had, but I advise people to stay away from believing that in a court case that lyrics should be used as evidence, because we know that typically Black and brown hip hop, rap, people in that genre of music are targeted by the injustice system, that is often used prosecutorially to try and charge and then find guilty rappers and hip hop artists. They are disproportionately targeted by, this happened in Young Thug's trial. And so it's a bad precedent to set. And there is a lot of other evidence here that is important to focus on. So I'm not saying that there's no signs, no clues that seem to be in his music, especially his songs. He has a song called Celeste. There's some lyrics in particular that point to this acknowledging that he's abusing a girl. But as far as in a court of law, that's not something that we want to encourage being used as evidence.
The finding of the body of Celeste's body or her remains. Why has it taken so long for an arrest to be made?
I think the police chief got it right, that in a situation where you don't have an eyewitness account, or we can't point to a video that shows the killer killing someone, you have to go through the very rigorous and thorough investigation to look at all the digital and forensic evidence. You have to speak with witnesses, often who are cooperative, and some who are not cooperative, in order to obtain all the information necessary to decide who did what, when, how, and what their mental state was at the time.
I was a super casual listener of David, but once the initial report of the impounded car came out, I immediately blocked him, unliked his songs, completely removed his artistry from my life. What? You mean that is a thing that people can do?
That is what we've been doing over the last, between September 8th.
Yeah, if
roughly,
lyrics mattered, Kid Rock and Ted
today
Nugent
when
would
we
be on
bring
the
these
stand defending the
charges
shit they sang.
on
Right.
April 20th.
Right.
So again,
that's
it's
not
the type of case that you
who
want to make sure you get
prosecutors will
maximum
go after.
information. And by the way, if there's anyone out there that has material information about this particular murder or any other actions taken by Mr. Burke, please come forward to the Los Angeles Police Department, come forward to the LA County DA's office, and report that information.
Mr. Hochman, there are other people who were aware of this relationship. Is it possible that you will be arresting other people within his circle, and did he act alone in this death?
Again, with respect to whether or not...
Also, I just want to point out something that may seem small, but it's really not. It's important. So the language that we use is crucial. Prosecutors say David murdered Celeste Rivas to protect his music career because she threatened to expose him for having sex with a 14-year-old. You cannot frame it as this because it's not having sex, it's rape. A child cannot consent. Point blank. That's it. And when you rhetorically frame rape as having sex, that reinforces that this is not rape, but it is sex. Sex with a child, but that still reduces the seriousness of it. It minimizes it. So I know that people are scared of the word rape still. I know that it is something that still kind of has shock to it, but we have to accurately label things as they are, and sex with a 14-year-old is rape. Okay. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
If there's any other individuals or we're going to take any other actions, you will know about them if we do, but at this point I'm not commenting.
Do you believe that you know how she was killed beyond it being homicide? The actual cause of death?
The coroner's report will be released shortly. Because it is not currently released, I'm not going to be commenting.
But was it determined, not that, if you won't say what it was, but has it been determined how she was killed beyond it being homicide?
The coroner has made a determination on how Celeste...
Even the judge overseeing Giselle Pellico's trial didn't like how often they were using that word. It's so insane. People more scared of the word rape, more shocked by the word rape than the actual act itself, than the actual prevalence of the act.
died, and at the point
Fucking
that the coroner's
absurd.
report becomes public, we'll be able to comment. on it.
Was there a specific
investigation, are you
breakthrough
able to-
last week? Is there physical evidence that ties David to this murder?
There is physical evidence and there is forensic and digital evidence that we intend to present in court to prove these charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
Only a couple more questions.
So within your investigation, and just to his question, are you able to tell us exactly what the smoking gun is? And also, if you can address the issue of his visit to Santa Barbara, and that, how does it connect with the murder?
So with respect to the actual details of the evidence we're going to be presenting in court, I'm not going to do that today. As far as the concept of a smoking gun, the smoking gun is the totality of the evidence that we're going to bring to prove any case, whether it's this case or any case, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Is there any evidence that he abused other underage girls that he investigated?
Do missing persons into homicide cases always take this long of an investigation? It feels like way too much time passed. I mean, it just depends. It depends on the circumstances. It depends on evidence. Because again, what the defendant has, a card that they have is pushing for a preliminary hearing. So that's what David's team is doing. And that essentially is a mini trial. It tests the strength of prosecutors' evidence. And if a judge determines that it's not, there's not a whole lot, it's not very compelling, then they can dismiss they can reduce or even dismiss the charges. So it is better to take time, necessary time, not be fucking around, obviously. And so I think in this instance, now, I'm never going to rule out police and prosecutorial fuckery, but I think the cause of death was one thing that held this up, because they had to determine how she had died in order to assess if they could proceed with a murder charge. And the other thing is that I think they probably have been getting or attempting to get witnesses to cooperate to strengthen the evidence. And I have always thought from the beginning, not even thought, just knew that there were people who knew. There were people involved in David's circle, on his team, people closest to him, people in Celeste's life who knew. They knew that he was grooming and then raping this child. He wasn't exactly keeping a secret. He had her on stream. She was living with him. She was backstage at his shows. The state of her body probably made it take longer, better for them to take longer and be more than thorough than scrub this case. Yes, her body was her body was decomposing. She had been in the trunk of the car for months because they determined that she was killed. I believe it was April. And then it was not until September. It was September 8th that her body was discovered and her remains were badly decomposed. So that can take a while to determine a cause of death. And cause of death is really important in a case like this because it makes the difference between being able to file a murder charge or not. She could have been in his Discord server. Apparently the Discord server came out. They posted a thing where they're like, let us make clear things we knew and what we didn't know. We didn't know that he was sexually abusing her. So I don't know. I saw some on that. You don't want to charge initial case proceedings and have to drag things out because defendants can argue their right to a speedy trial was violated. Yes.
An investigation is ongoing. If information comes forward,
one of his team was arrested for failing to appear as a witness back in January. The way people around him knew is sickening.
With respect to any additional crimes, we will certainly investigate it.
One more question. One more. There's been so much discussion about the difficulties in this case, and Chief talked about it as well. What makes you confident you can prove these allegations?
What makes us confident is the totality of the evidence that has been obtained by the LAPD robbery homicide, by the work that the district attorney's office has done, that has led us to the point where we believe we can prove each and every one of these three charges and the special circumstances and the special allegation beyond a reason.
Do we know how she was killed? According to prosecutors, she was killed with a sharp instrument, but I don't think it has not yet been specified, but it was a sharp instrument.
No doubt.
22-21.
Oh my God. Sorry. I forgot that videos will play next. Okay. We just watched the CNN. Now let's watch this.
Some breaking news now. Los Angeles officials have just announced that the singer David is facing first-degree murder charges in connection to the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were found in the trunk of David's car last year. Take a listen.
I'm announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David, spelled D4vd, in connection with the
It's going to be hard to find jurors who haven't heard at least some about this. I don't know. Because you have to keep in mind, you would be surprised, keep in mind that most people really aren't tapped into everything going on. I'm sure there will be people in the jury pool who have heard something. But this is also not a case that has yet. I haven't seen this be one that a large portion of the internet has been talking about. It kind of seems to be more in certain circles, certain spaces on the internet. I think obviously because David had been involved in content, you know, he's streaming and whatnot. I think people in that world, especially because there were streamers who were friends with him, who collaborated with him. But yeah, you'd be surprised how many people out there have not heard of this. Like he was on the up and up in his career. So his music went viral in 2022, I think it was. He went viral on TikTok for his song Romantic Homicide. So he was still relatively at the beginning of his ascension. And this album, his debut album, what they have attributed the motivation for murder to, that came out in 2025, and then he went on tour. And he made his Coachella debut in 2025. So anyway, long answer to what you were asking, but there are many people. If I were to ask my mom, I'm sure she hasn't heard of this. I'm sure she doesn't know who he is. She hasn't heard of this case. And my mom reads a lot. I mean, you know, reads fucking New York Times and that, but there were people in the Diddy case, obviously, who everyone knew who Diddy was, but they didn't know everything else. So certainly the lawyers were hard pressed to find people who had not heard of Sean Combs, but there were a lot of them who didn't know any of anything.
The brutal and horrific murder of Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. The determination on whether or not...
Very serious charges there coming out of that press conference in Los Angeles. Joining us now, we have Brittany Hope, who is from NBC Los Angeles and has been following this case closely. She joins us now along with Misty Maris, who is our NBC News legal analyst. Brittany, I want to start with you. I want to get into the nature of the specific charges, but I think a lot of people who have been following this case have also been wondering why it took so long to bring these charges, given that it was just described in that press conference as a brutal and horrific crime.
California
Morgan,
has
as you
the death
said,
penalty.
We have been
Yes.
on this case since last year, and our law enforcement sources have told us that for a long time, David was seen as a suspect in this case for months now. But because of how fragile this investigation is, and because they wanted to make sure that their T's were crossed, their I's were dotted, they were very, very careful before making that formal arrest. And that happened just at the end of last week when he was formally arrested by LA police in the Hollywood Hills, bringing us to today. Let's go over those 3 charges. So this is brand new. We just learned within the past few minutes the most serious charge, first-degree murder, with a special allegation that singer David was lying in wait. District Attorney Nathan Hochman just said that prosecutors were alleging that this 14-year-old girl had gone to the singer's home and she had never been seen since. There's also other charges involving sexual assault and dismembering of a body. This is just step 1. After this, the singer and TikToker will then go to court, and that's when he'll be presented with these new charges.
Brittany, thank you. I want to go to Misty now. So, Misty, David was actually the target of this grand jury investigation in February, but he wasn't named as a suspect until just last week. Yep. Now we're seeing these charges. What do you make of the circumstances that the DA just laid out?
So this was really an unusual way that this case really came to be, because we're talking about a 7-month investigation since last September. A lot of hurdles here when we know that there was some serious decomposition of the body that was found. The medical examiner's report has been under seal. Perhaps that will change now that these charges have been formally brought. But what we saw was an arrest on Thursday without a grand jury indictment, without a criminal complaint. And now Nathan Hochman announcing what the basis for those charges are, and something that's very significant here. We did not know what the nature of the charges would be, if they would even be murder charges. We knew he was arrested on suspicion, but now it's first-degree murder with special circumstances. Those are the most serious charges that somebody could face in the state of California.
Can you drill down on that? Because I think that's interesting to a lot of people, these special circumstances, because he mentions lying in wait, he mentions financial gain, and then he mentions dismemberment. Explain that and how that affects the potential sentencing.
So when you have a first-degree murder charge, it's an intentional murder, but it can be even more severe when there's an enumerated special circumstance. Those are all laid out in the statute in California. So now we're learning some disturbing details, because this is the basis for the special circumstance charges: lying in wait, financial gain. However, we don't necessarily know what the facts behind that are, because we don't have all of the information about what will ultimately be presented to a jury when this case goes to trial. But this is the first insight we've had into exactly what the nature of the charges are. So this means the prosecutors believe there was an intentional murder that was committed with the lying in wait, financial gain, and the last one, which I think is very interesting, a witness to a crime, actually killing a witness to a crime. So that's really significant. There's going to be a lot more to this narrative. Remember what happened during the course of the investigation. It's taken a long time. There was a search warrant that was executed on his home. There were multiple individuals who were in his circle who actually testified before the grand jury, which was acting as an investigative body for months now.
And Misty, at the heart of this, a 14-year-old girl, her family that is grieving. I want to go back out to Brittany, who's standing by live in Los Angeles. Brittany, we understand Celeste Hernandez's family is expected to comment and deliver some remarks today. What have they said about the arrest so far of David?
This is going to be the first time that we have seen the family, that we have formally heard from the family since that arrest late last week. And the family said, they told us that they're at that press conference with the district attorney in LA County, with LAPD. They said that they are going to be in the courtroom today when that arraignment happens. Now, before that, the family had told us through our months of investigating.
What is lying in wait? So lying in wait refers to a charge of first-degree murder. So essentially, the perpetrator hides their intent from their victim. So it speaks to the premeditation element of first-degree murder.
They had known that Celeste had somehow known the singer David. Since then, it's been a long fight for justice. They say that this today is going to be some sort of a step forward.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories.
So rather than it being murder that happened in the spur of the moment, which will result in a lesser charge. It is premeditated. It is with malice. It is deliberate. I just keep thinking about how obviously a lot of the media and online commentary around Epstein and his whole operation has people going, well, how could these girls have been, how could these obviously underage girls have been around and nobody said anything, nobody knows. Well, here we have another fucking situation. And I think there's this tendency to treat things as of the past. And I think a lot of people look at the Epstein criminal operation as something that happened in the past. And then there's the next story that is happening now because it's still happening. This is happening all over. It doesn't always result in somebody being murdered like Celeste was, but this type of abuse is open. Okay, here he is.
Some breaking news now. Los Angeles officials have just announced that the singer David is facing first-degree murder charges in connection to the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were found in the trunk of David's car last year. Take a listen.
I'm announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David, spelled D4vd, in connection with the brutal and horrific murder of Celeste, a 14-year-old.
The other thing is, I think about, had David not killed Celeste and she tried to go public with what he had been doing to her, you can already hear the responses. You can already picture the defenses, because here's a situation where you have a man of certain status and fame and influence and in a higher status than this 14-year-old child. And that's something that people need to recognize. They need to recognize that, okay, they may determine David is guilty, David is bad because a child is dead. But if that child had not died, if that child had not been murdered, how would this have gone? We have plenty of evidence to assume that many people would be defending him, that they would choose him because of his talent, because of his status, because of his position over this girl who had no support in her life, is in a much lower position.
At that time. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. The determination on whether or not...
Very serious charges there coming out of that press conference in Los Angeles. Joining us now, we have Brittany Hope, who is from NBC Los Angeles.
Did I just... Sorry, we just watched this. I meant to show... this one. Sorry, it's TMZ.
Calling People versus David Anthony Burke. That's case number 26.
You know what it was? It was, for some reason, it was something weird with YouTube where it had the same title of the video.
CJC F02399.
Good morning or good afternoon, Your Honor. Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter on behalf of our client, David Burke, who's in custody.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Mr. Burke.
TMZ is our friend now only in Washington. When TMZ is not engaging in exploitation of and victimizing people and contributing to misogynistic smear campaigns and these things that TMZ has been plenty guilty of. When they're not doing that, still trash, but at least a better purpose to it.
Attorney Beth Silverman for the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. And counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're requesting a preliminary hearing within the period?
Yes, Your Honor. From the media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
So this is something that attorneys will do pretty often because it is an opportunity for them to confront the evidence very early, and they get to test the strength of the prosecutor's case, which can, if a judge determines, again, I explained that it's like a mini trial, right? If a judge determines that there's not sufficient evidence to proceed forward, they could reduce the charges or dismiss them. But this is a strategy because most likely that's not going to happen, the dismissal or reduction of charges. I hope not. I'm hoping that the 7 months that it took this investigation, they've got their ducks in a row. But this would then give the defense a look at what the prosecutors have, and they could then potentially have their client take a plea deal.
Nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for...
They can also have witnesses testify under cross-examination, and if the witness's testimony changes at trial, which happens sometimes, those witnesses can be impeached by the testimony that occurred during the prelim.
April 23rd as a 3 of 10, Your Honor.
Anything from the people?
We'll be very happy to put on the evidence that we've collected in this case in the last several months.
Thank you. So the matter will be set up.
She was like, yeah, we're going to get your fucking asses.
Plea of not guilty has been entered on behalf of Mr. Burke. The matter will be set in Department 105.
Did you see David's father, according to his LinkedIn profile, has been working at Brown Rednick since March of this year, the same law firm that defended Deb. Oh, interesting.
The matter is ordered assigned to Judge Charlene Almeida in Department 105 for all purposes by the judge of the supervising judge of criminal.
Yes, Your Honor. If I may just put on the record.
Yeah, I hope I explained that this is not a special thing. This is not some like unique move. This is it's pretty standard, especially in a case with charges like this.
We have, as soon as the people arrived, delivered a informal discovery request consistent with Penal Code Section 1054. We have been given almost no discovery thus far. We've received a 3-page follow-up report, no autopsy report, and a copy of the complaint. And we would ask the people respectfully to produce discovery at the earliest opportunity.
Your Honor, as I indicated to counsel, counsel, there's approximately 40 terabytes of discovery in this case. Moreover, in order to obtain the transcripts from a grand jury investigation, counsel
40
must file a
terabytes
motion.
is what she
knows
said.
the way the system works. I'm not able to gather those. They have to be provided after the court orders them released because it was an investigation. Second of all, if counsel plans on going to a preliminary hearing within the 10 days, it is
40
unlikely
terabytes
that
of
there
discovery.
will be
That's a
very
lot.
much discovery provided within that period, given the voluminous nature and how long it's going to take to copy onto drives. In addition to that, the coroner's report was sealed in this case in order to prevent it from hampering truthful testimony from witnesses that testified at the grand jury. So an order will also have to be obtained in order to get the coroner's department, which is now the medical examiner's department, to release those materials.
DDG is also celebrating on this platform, though admittedly isn't accused of murder, just being an abused piece of shit. Oh yeah. Oh no, I've gone in on that. I've gone in on him. I've gone in on people who are supporting him. It is fucking outrageous to me.
Your Honor, it's surprising news given the district attorney's office held a press conference this morning where they discussed the cause of death, apparently under seal and not released by the coroner's office, as did the robbery homicide unit to the press. So we would again reiterate, we believe that Mr. Burke is entitled to discovery. We have served the people with notice. They have 15 days to produce discovery in this case. We would ask that they do that in conscientious earnestness and as quickly as possible.
I'd ask the court to make an order today. We'll take a copy of the minute order ordering the Department of Medical Examiner to release their coroner's report in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The court will order that the medical examiner release the report in this case forthwith.
Thank you.
The matter set in Department 105, as the court indicated, April 23rd, 2026, as a 3:10 p.m. Anything further?
No, not at this time.
Bail to stand at no bail. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Well, that is all I have on that. So he was denied bail at his arraignment. And now things are proceeding. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges. And the district attorney's office has yet to say exactly what maximum sentence they are going for. Life without parole or the death penalty, because it is California.